Minutes.
Not a problem.
And then back. Right. Thanks, Harry. Doing that. And I'll see you shortly, Harry.
Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.
Hi, Lester.
Hello.
Hi, Michael will be here in a minute. You've got the
Yeah.
wrong at the moment, but he'll be with us in a second. I'll just tell him that we've gone live. Okay. All right. It's got a slight problem at the moment. Okay.
Yeah, it's like 7 minutes earlier.
Yeah, no, it's still early, so
It's
that's
still early, yeah.
not a problem. Are you with me next one? No, you won't be if you're in this class. I'm wondering who's with me next class. Somebody's with me. I'll find out when I go and look. All right. Great to chat to you again. Lester, you're doing microgreens today. Have you done it before?
Yeah. Like I think twice or thrice.
Okay, so you're going to
Yeah.
start growing microgreens of your own?
Not because I don't have any place to grow in, but I was planning in the future, right after I fix something here in our house, so I
Oh,
could have a better lighting for plants.
okay, no, that's fine. Talking to Lester, and
Is
you've
it
got-
here?
yeah, and you've gone live with Harry. Harry's-
Oh, I didn't know I was going live.
Yeah, you've gone
Okay,
live.
thank you. Hi, guys.
Harry's got the
Hey,
Lester.
Michael, how are you?
I've got a stomach ache second to none. Okay, but otherwise fine. Okay. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Okay. Right. Glad it was just before the class and not just during the class. Yeah. I ate something different for breakfast that I don't usually eat, and that I think that's brought it on. Anyway.
It's almost lunchtime though.
Yeah. But our classes started late, so we stayed in bed.
Yeah, you also have one out right around 1 in the afternoon, correct?
Yeah, but I mean, starting at 11, I've never ever since we Get Set Up started my first lesson at 11.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, so I don't know why, but I took advantage of it and ate and read in bed, just relaxed and finished my book.
Still a good thing.
We don't have too many people booked, I don't think. 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah, because there's like 27 still seats available.
Yeah. So that probably means only 2 or 3, but
20
it's late. It's late in America now, and so in some places it's past midnight already, or getting near to midnight.
Yeah, different time zone though.
Yeah. But anyway.
So Sue just finished her previous class.
Yeah. And
I think she
she
finished
said
earlier.
she said nobody put their cameras on or anything, and that's so it's not pleasant when you're a guide when people don't put their cameras on and interact. All you need really even one person to put their camera on and interact. But, it makes the class so much easier because you can talk with enthusiasm if you're looking at somebody. And you get in response, even if it's negative response, it doesn't matter. It's a response, and
just seeing their reactions through their facial
that's right.
reaction, right?
Yeah.
It's
correct. I mean, eye contact and things like that. Yeah. And then when you sort of ask a sort of a mundane sort of question, you can at least see them nodding their head or putting their thumbs up physically as opposed to. So, but you do get classes where nobody does that, and you just got to go on as if I suppose you were a TV commentator or something, talking to a camera.
Yeah. I think maybe some of them or most of them are not yet, getting used to having classes, since most of them are uh, having challenges with it comes to technology, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, bear's starting to snore, yeah. That's our dog.
Yeah, that's fine.
uh, so what type of classes, Lester, do you enjoy? And across the spectrum of topics and things, which ones do you enjoy the most? Ignoring the guides, just the topics.
A lot, because most of the topics are really interesting, and I me myself, I found very absorbed during the classes as well. And
Okay.
yeah, as for example, when I first attended your classes, your TA for microgreens, I
Yeah.
didn't know that it was actually the actual seed of the bigger plants, and
Right.
making it just smaller. So that's interesting. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And um, other than that, like some tips and tricks in Zoom. So yeah, I've been using Zoom before, like a couple of years, but we did not use some or most of its functionality. That's just that I'm just knowing it right now. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
learning a lot of things every day. I love everything in Get Set Up.
Okay. And do you think you'll become a guide in the future?
I would love to in the future if I got a chance. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but learning new things is I love learning new things, especially this kind of things wherein I can actually use it
Yeah.
in real life, right? So yeah. I think no classes that I've attended to has ever been wasted so far, because I really love everything in the guys as well.
Right. Right.
They're coming in.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Lester. Diana. Hello. 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 I can't see you. There you are. Okay. Okay. Nice to have you in class. But, am I going to see you during the class or not? Still can't see you. Yeah, better bring your camera down further than that. There we are. Okay. There we are. Oh, now you're gone again. Diana. Okay. And welcome to Karen Woodard. It's nice to see you
Hi.
again.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. How's your Pinterest account coming along?
I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to it. I did straighten out some more, moved them around to the proper boards.
Okay.
I've been using them. I'm still needle felting a lot. So I use my board for reference.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm also reorganizing my Pinterest as well, getting it to focus, and hopefully tomorrow probably I'll get some new topics that I will be doing on Get Set Up. So you'll probably see a change in my Pinterest again, looking for those topics. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very convenient app, that. Yeah. Anyway, so who else? Maida, hello. Welcome. Can you hear me, Maida?
Yes, yes, thank you. Yes,
Okay, really, that's good. Okay, and what part of the world are you from, Maida?
Miami, Florida.
Miami. Okay,
A
okay,
few of us from Florida.
okay, right. And Diana, what part of the world are you from?
I'm from Canada. I'm up in Calgary,
Oh, okay,
Calgary,
okay.
Alberta, so
Yeah.
close to Vancouver, up in the mountains here.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Yeah.
It must be lovely to live there. When I went to Canada, I really wanted to do the train trip that has the glass top, into the mountain.
Yes.
Oh, and I never got to do it, and
Oh,
it was one of my
there's still
disappointments.
time.
There's still there is time. It's on my bucket list, I can assure you.
So you want to do the Rocky Mountain trip through the mountains and the across Canada. I want to come down and do Amtrak.
Okay.
I'll trade you.
Yeah, I'd love to do a class on people's bucket lists. I think it would be great to share and see what other people have got on their bucket list. And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we should have a coffee with Michael up about your bucket list.
We should. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. And anyway, we've got Lester with us. He's our support from Get Set Up, and he's here to help you with any issues, camera problems, microphone problems, or even questions that you want answered. And even if you've got things from previous classes, you can confidentially chat to him on the page and let him know things that maybe ideas you've got and things like that he will then send on your behalf. And so Lester, it's really great to have you in class, so welcome. Okay. I know he's listening because he's typing. Okay. He gives me a thumbs up. Okay, that's fine. That's super. So Corin, tell me, why microgreens? Why have you come to the microgreen class? I can't hear you. Sorry, your mic is.
There we go.
Okay.
Well, I like to garden indoors and out.
Okay.
I don't know. I grabbed some seeds one day thinking they were the mesclun for outside, the mix of lettuces.
Right.
And it turns out they were microgreens. So now I need to learn a little more about them, but for eating purposes.
Right. Yeah. That's what I do as well, for eating purposes. And anyway, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Let's just find out why everybody else is there. Diane, why are you in a microgreen class?
Well, I heard a couple of years ago you could buy some of the microgreens at a grocery store here, and I never found them. And I was always interested in them. And then I came across your class, and I thought, well, I'd like to learn how to grow some or how to start, so I could even throw them in my smoothies. And I just know that, every little bit helps. So that's something I kind of wanted to do this spring.
Okay. Right. Yeah, they're great in everything, but smoothies as well. So yeah. So Maida, why are you in the microgreen class?
Well, same thing. I know nothing about growing microgreens, so I'm interested to eat them.
Okay. Well, that's great. You've all, there are 3 of you and Lester, so 4 in the class. That's great. There were others. They might come in a bit later. I'm going to just share the screen now. And can you all see my microgreen screen? Just either nod your head or say yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Now,
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Just look at the image in front of you. look at all those microgreens. They're vibrant. Okay? They're just oozing all sorts of character. And if you look at the different colors, that's another thing with microgreens, and we'll talk about that during the class. Okay, and you know, you can just imagine if Zoom allowed you to be able to smell the aroma. Each one has its own aroma and its own taste, and each little mouthful is just full of nutrients. And you get the sweet taste ones, you get the savory taste ones, and you get the very neutral taste ones as well. But before we start, I need to introduce myself. My name is Michael Plumstead, and I live in Perth, Western Australia. And some of you have already attended classes with me. And so, you know, I enjoy researching and writing, and I love business. And I, like Karen, I enjoy gardening and growing microgreens. And I just love being a guide and being able to do what I'm doing at this very moment with you. It's really, for me, it's part of who I am. Okay, so let's start with what are microgreens? Okay, what are these fellas that you see here in the image to the right of your picture? Okay, they are young vegetable greens, and you can harvest them somewhere. They get to about 1 to 3 inches, depending on the seed. Okay, or if you're not in America, 5 centimeters tall. But you can harvest them much taller than that, and even less. Okay, so there's no definite time when you harvest them. There's no definite day, but they are just mini vegetables. I heard, I think it was Karen now, say that somebody's capitalizing on this big growth and interest in microgreens across the world. That some people are now producing microgreen seeds. Okay, that's an irony, but anyway, it is what it is, and because basically these greens are just small versions of the big fella, of the full-grown vegetable. Okay, and so they're just considered baby plants. Somewhere between a sprout, I'm sure you've all been sprouting, somewhere between a sprout and a green vegetable, all right? And they are...
So yes. If they were allowed to grow, they would grow to normal size for that plant?
Yeah, you're using the normal vegetable seed. And yes, the only difference is you would make sure that it's organic, okay? You would not buy normal seeds that maybe the farmer would buy that's been treated with certain chemicals in order to enhance their protective layers and so on, and are also grown where there are fertilizers that are chemicals that are perhaps enhance the growth of the full-grown vegetable, because those impregnate the microgreens, and they impregnate the big full one as well.
This is what I bought. There's a spicy mix and a mild mix, and these are
you're not quite in the picture. Sorry, it's off the picture. Oh, they are. Okay,
there.
Right.
Non-GMO, untreated.
That's it. That's what you want. 100% non-GMO, untreated. Okay, and that's absolutely fine. Both of those words are so important, because you see, GMO now is causing lots of problems throughout the world. So, and you're only going to enhance those problems in a microgreen, because everything that is in the microgreen is more concentrated than in the full-grown plant. Okay, so you can't get away with it in a microgreen. You might get away with it to a degree in the full-grown plant or vegetable. Okay, so those are microgreens. Now, as there are different categories of vegetables, There are different categories, obviously, of microgreens, because a microgreen is a baby, big vegetable. So they very broadly, and I show you these categories with purpose in mind, because each category has its own characteristics. Okay, one might be a bit crunchy, one might be a bit more juicy, more sweet, and so on. And I'll cover some of those things as we move forward and show you. But broadly, you can see that the first category I call the cabbage family. Okay, and you might find that. You'll find that each category has a slightly different nutrient, and so it's good to slowly, if you're going to grow microgreens for yourself, which I hope by the end of this class you really are going to, okay, and that includes you too, Lester, of Get Set Up, okay, because of its nutrient value. So, I call that the cabbage family. I call the lettuce and the chicory the aster family, and the carrot family, the third one down, and the allium family, the garlic and onion, and then, of course, the green leafy family below that, and then the last one, the gourd family. So, and there are technical names for those, but I'm not able to pronounce them, so I thought I wouldn't use them, okay, because they get good. But just keep in mind that there are these categories as you start experimenting yourself with different microgreens, and there are many, many possibilities of growing microgreens. Okay, so now let's just talk about the fundamental difference between sprouting and microgreens. You can see in the image the sprouts on the left, and you can see on the right the microgreens. Okay, now on the left with the sprouts, you can see you've got the seed and you've got the sprout that's coming out from the seed. Okay, now with sprouts you eat the seed and the sprout, everything, okay? With the microgreen, you do not eat the seed, okay? You eat the greens, the microgreens, okay? And please keep that in mind, okay? And we'll talk more about it during the class as well, okay? Microgreens are grown could be in soil. There are a lot of different we'll talk about that as well, but I grow mine in soil, in organic soil, and that just adds more nutrients. But you can get mats to grow them on. If you go online and buy a kit, then you'll find that the kit has its own growing medium, and they don't tend to ship out soil because that becomes a problem. So they ship out maybe a coconut mat of some description, and that will also grow well, okay, and it just won't have what the extra tiny bit that comes from the soil possibly, okay, and but we'll talk more about that. So microgreens are grown in soil, and sprouts are not grown in soil. As you know, you put them in some water, shake them around, make them wet, and leave them in a bottle that's aerated, that can get plenty of fresh air, and that's how you grow the sprouts. Light is an issue, particularly for microgreens. Okay, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, because the substance, the chlorophyll that is in the leaves, needs light. It needs the light in order to transform what it's going to from the light into the leaf. And I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So light is an issue, and ventilation for both of them are important, okay? Once they've sprouted, okay? It's not that important before you sprout, but once they sprouted, either the sprouts or the microgreens, but particularly the microgreens, they're going to need air around them, okay? So you can't sort of grow them in a cupboard. Although you use the same seeds for both sprouts and microgreens, you grow many more seeds as microgreens than sprouts. And we'll talk about that again a little bit more. Okay. So you can also grow microgreens. You can grow them hydroponically. But then you've got to put nutrients in the water and they'll grow there too. I've never done that. It's never appealed to me. But I see that people are doing that quite successfully as well. But then you're limited. You see, I find that when you grow them in soil, nature to a large extent takes hold, and there are lots of different nutrients and mini nutrients, micronutrients in the soil that interact with the seeds and then interact with the roots, and that you wouldn't think of putting those particular, you can't put it in water. Okay, so that's why but there are people that do it, and they, of course, they produce microgreens. I mean, even people using chemical fertilizers and GMO seeds and they are also producing microgreens, but it's not the health. We're looking particularly for all senior citizens like myself who really need to be able to absorb nutrients, and microgreens are the key to that. And I will talk more about that as well. Okay, so why grow microgreens? In addition to what I've already said in this class, okay, you don't need a garden, and you can do it indoors. You can do it on a veranda. You need a windowsill, and you have all your organic veggies right in your home. Organic veggies, full veggies with all the nutrients and a lot more than in the full-grown plant. So you could call the microgreen a superfood because of all the nutrients that are there to build your immune system and your gut generally. Okay. So it's a practical method of ensuring you're getting all your vital nutrients. Yes, you might be taking supplements, but are your supplements being absorbed? You don't know. Okay, you could have issues like leaky gut. Your microbiome in your gut could not, maybe in a situation not being able to absorb the chemicals, and generally the microgreen is putting, as I said before, all the little things together. The micronutrients, the holistic natural approach, is putting it all together in that one leafy microgreen. And so where you need little things to help build up your microbiome, the microgreen has it. Okay. And of course you will grow them because they're tasty and they're colorful on food. So let's just talk about the health benefits. You will see on the screen there that the polyphenols, and if you go to your doctor and ask about polyphenols, he'll say, wow, okay, they're great, they're healthy, and they all the rest, and which they are, okay? But it's a very broad category of word, okay? And so you'll have, for example, part of that category will be antioxidant properties. Okay. Now you need antioxidants in your system, okay, because they are the ones that will stop the free radicals running wild in your body, which opens you up to disease and can even damage your cells, the free radicals. So you need the antioxidants, okay, and it's very important to think about this and know. Because you really also need a good motivation to grow. And other than just perhaps liking, like Karen likes gardening, I like gardening. You may not have a garden, you may not like gardening, but when it comes to nutrition, you need a motivation. And the motivation is that healthy, organic or untreated microgreen seeds and into microgreens will just help you live a healthier life. style as you move forward for the next 30 years. Okay. And you can see that the micronutrient density of nutrients is anything between 4 and 40 times the nutrient value of the full-grown vegetable. Okay. So it will vary, but it's certainly at least 4 times more nutritious than, and so you really are getting what you possibly trying to get through a supplement, or you're possibly trying to get by eating your vegetables. Okay. And it's an easy to grow food, and you can grow them any time of the year. I know, you know, in winter, when you're snowing outside and you're warm in your house, and so the microgreens need that warmth. And if you're not getting any sun or bright light, you can use a grow light. And a grow light can be an LED light that is created for that purpose. Also the tubes you can get. Historically, if you go back over many years, we've always used tubes. When the days and they become colder and the light becomes dimmer, you need light. Okay. And so it's important, if you really have that contrast of hot summers and freezing winters, that you can do it in winter. You just need to supplement the warmth and the light. Okay. So yeah. So now let's just talk about what seeds to start with. Okay. You know, what I omitted to tell you there in the health part of things is that besides the polyphenols, which are food themselves, you know, then under that you get the phytonutrients that are also in the microgreens. And these phytonutrients, oh my goodness, you know, they lower cholesterol and the triglyceride symptoms and rheumatoid arthritis, you know, Alzheimer's disease, okay, and cardiovascular issues, cancer, diabetes, you know, these are all built into a natural growing microgreen. Okay, you don't have to add anything to it if you perhaps growing in organic soil. But a lot of it is built into the seed anyway, so you would get some of those benefits if you were growing on a mat. Okay, but certainly it helps immensely with heart diseases and heart problems. So and one of the reasons for that is that, you know, your immune system relies on your microbiome in your gut particularly, but other places of the body as well. And you need to keep that microbiome healthy. Okay, and everything in, and I'll show you now with some of the seeds are in the seed themselves, in the microgreens. Okay, and you can then, if you have problems unknowingly with your absorption, and if you did have a problem, the microgreens, if you're eating them on a regular basis, they're going to heal your microbiome. Okay, and you're doing that without even knowing that you possibly had a problem to start with. Okay, so let's just look at these seeds, and there are lots of seeds you can start with. All right, so really you can start with your preference, or maybe there's some seeds you just happen to have available, and that's fine. Then you know, start with those. There's no particular. I'm using these as an example because they're easy to grow. They cover a whole variety of nutrients, and they have different textures, and you know, they have different tastes, quite a dramatic taste. You know, the coriander compared to the parsley or the cabbage would be very, very different. So you've got to find out what you like what taste you like, okay, and then work with that. If one looks at the coriander on your picture there, it's a source of fiber, okay, so it keeps yourself regular and other things that fiber does, but it also has a manganese and magnesium, okay, both of them, iron, and the leaves are really rich in vitamin C and vitamin K. And you know what? It's also got protein. So now don't forget that all of them vary ever so slightly, but the coriander, which are very sharp taste, you will find the things I've mentioned. Now, if you move across to what's always been called a superfood, a super vegetable, of course, is broccoli. Now, broccoli have large quantities of magnesium and manganese and copper and zinc, okay? And they also, and this is important, they also have essential minerals that most people are deficient in, okay? And you get them in much higher concentration in broccoli than you would in the full-blown broccoli plant, okay? So it's a great way to get those particular nutrients that you need. And if we carry on moving on the screen, basil, microgreens are a good source of protein. They quite proportionately have perhaps more protein than the coriander. And they're also high in vitamin E, okay? And lots of it, like niacin, and also a very good source of fiber. As well, and vitamin A, and vitamin C, and vitamin K, and vitamin B6, okay, and folate, and calcium, and iron, and magnesium, and phosphorus, and so it's a power punch, that basil, okay. And I allow some of my basil to grow to full plants, and I keep them in pots, and on my veranda as well. So I'm never out of basil, okay, either as a microgreen or just as a leaf to cook with, to flavor things with, and to put in my lemon water, okay, as well. So that to me is a really, really super herb. But there are lots of super herbs. I don't particularly want to sway you to run out and buy the basil necessary. The chai, we've had chai seeds, and I guess all of you have had chai seeds. You put them on your cereal, or you buy them in a mixture for your breakfast mix, and they've been also known as a superfood, and they're also very high in fiber and in protein. Okay, and they're regarded, by all the people that are specialists and scientists and people who focus in these areas as probably the healthiest things for digestive systems, okay, and that could be this. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're all good. They're all, I mean, the radish, I said I wasn't going to, but the radish has got vitamin A, B, C, E, and K, and they also deliver calcium and iron and magnesium and phosphorus, potassium and zinc, but that's not all. And listen carefully to this one, because radishes perhaps should be on one of your lists there, okay? Besides being very easy to grow and grow quickly, they are rich in essential amino acids, okay, and chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll is what's in the leaves that brings the light and the sun in, but it's also something, if you've got a bad smelling breath, chlorophyll is a natural deodorant, okay, as well. So radishes are quick and easy microgreens and full of it. So I just get so excited about these things that I just wish everybody would eat microgreens. Even if you can't grow them or you don't want to grow them, at least find organic microgreens in your vicinity, or get them delivered, and make sure that they are organic or haven't been grown from treated seeds.
Michael,
Yes, I'm going to say, let's stop now and
Oh.
get some questions.
Well, I don't really have a question.
Okay.
These mixes that I got, I was going to read off some of the suggestions if you like spicy greens. This
Yeah.
mix contains radishes, mustard, cabbage, cress peppergrass,
Yeah.
and mustard sawtooth. So all
Okay.
those have a peppery flavor,
Yeah.
spicy flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. You know, those are some more ideas and some more seeds. And I agree. I tend to do coriander for a little bit more of the spicy. But I also do the sweet, which is the peas. But I'll come to that in a minute as well. We can talk about it. But thanks for sharing that, Corinne. And if anybody else has any experience, then please share them. And Corinne, I want to see by the next class that those things are planted and they're not in a packet anymore.
Tomorrow.
Okay. You know, there are other reasons to choose seeds besides what I've now, started you with, and what Corinne has shared as well. And thanks for that. Is that certain microgreens have a crunch. And I have a preference for a crunch, okay? Especially if you're just eating the microgreens, or just you make yourself a microgreen salad or whatever. But even when you garnish foods with it, I like the crunchy shoot. And the pea shoots are particularly good, the pea microgreens. They taste just like the actual pea in a pod. Okay, you know that lovely green pea that you, and a fresh pod, you open it up and you put that, especially the baby peas, okay, they're just so delicious. Now the microgreen has a similar taste, okay, not exactly the same, but very similar. It reminds you of that pea when it's in your mouth and you're eating it. As do the sunflower and other bean shoots as well. They have that crunch. All right. So part of the whole process, if you really have the inclination, there's so much that we can all learn about microgreens for ourselves. Okay. And we can move forward, knowing, getting the nutrients we want, getting the taste and the feel that we want, and just growing those microgreens and experimenting in different ways. And we'll talk about growing them in a minute. Okay, so of course for color, I mean, you've been to a restaurant and you found that the chef has an element of theater in him when he puts out his whatever you've ordered, and then he covers them with these colorful microgreens. Okay. And they look beautiful in a restaurant with the chef that does, and you can do that too. Okay, and of course you don't know in a restaurant whether they actually are what sort of seeds they were made from, and whether they were grown in some sort of chemical. But they look lovely. Okay, and then. As Corinne has mentioned, there are some that with a particularly punchy and strong taste, and that they're just strong in their taste. Some of them, I use the word punchy because I couldn't think of another word to use. They just have that strong punch when you eat them by themselves, or when you put them, when you garnish maybe your whatever it is, and we'll talk about how to eat them at the end of this class. Okay, and certainly the strong taste and the punchy tastes. Maybe if you think about as we're talking through the class, you come up with another word for punchy. And my wife has shouted from the back. What did you shout? Pungent, she says, pungent. Okay, there we are. So she's listening to my class. Okay, she does her own classes as well. You know, she does all the crafty stuff that seniors can do to occupy their time and to do things and make things out of products that they would otherwise have thrown away. So watch out for her classes as well.
I will.
So,
I've noticed that. I've
have
noticed
you?
that listed. I'll check into that.
Great. Okay, that'll be great,
I'll
Karen.
check
I'll tell her to expect you. Yeah. All right. So the pungent taste. I like that. Yeah, that's a nice word. So you know, you don't have to hang around with microgreens like you do with vegetables. You know, might take you 3 months to get to that vegetable. Here, it's anything between 7 and 21 days. You are going to be eating your vegetables, and then you just cycle them. You know, you plant so that you don't get too many. You don't want to harvest too many or have too much, but leave them on the plant. And I'll talk about storing them in a moment as well. So let's talk now about how to grow microgreens, okay? And let's just start with how to harvest them, okay? Because you can get more than one harvest out of your microgreens. So that's important. So, you know, one seed can give you multiple harvests. So keep that in mind, but you need to harvest them correctly. That's why I'm just putting this up front here. And we'll talk about the actual growing in a minute. So you see that on the right, you've got a picture of a microgreen. And if you cut your microgreen above the bottom 2 leaves, the bottom 2 leaves are usually the first leaves to appear when it comes out of the ground, and it produces 2 leaves, and then it creates a stalk, and then more leaves after that. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them, okay? So you would cut above to leave the 2 leaves at the bottom. Leave the 2 leaves at the bottom. Now, those that don't have 2 leaves at the bottom, that's fine. Just cut it well above the ground level, okay? Possibly, you know, depending on the height of the microgreen, maybe a ½ inch to 1 inch above the ground level, okay? And use always a very sharp knife or a sharp pair of scissors. You don't want to squash the microgreen with blunt scissors, okay? You want to have a good cut after that. Anyway, but we'll talk a little bit more about that, okay? I've alluded to seasons and things about where to grow microgreens. You can grow them indoors on the floor, if you like, or in a well-lit area. It could be in a basement, but then you need to have the lighting, okay? You need to buy a grow light, and they don't appear to be expensive in North America, from the little I've seen on the internet. But to start them sprouting, they need to be in a dark place. And then as soon as they have sprouted and they're above the ground, they need to be brought to light, okay? So you first start with darkness, and then you start so you can grow them in anything you like, any sort of container you can grow them in. You can, you know, your McDonald's takeaway or your supermarket veggie containers, or your meat containers that come from the supermarket or whatever, any sort of container, okay? It just needs to, you know, perhaps have about an inch of soil been able to put in. So just use your throwaway containers. You just got to put some holes in the bottom in case you overwater. And with this as well, with the starting, I'm just going to re-emphasize, and again, what Karen has showed us with her packet, okay? You must use untreated seed, okay? You must avoid seed that's been fumigated or treated with fungicide, okay? So just look for that untreated seed on your packet. Okay, now let's get down to sowing and growing. I tend to soak some of my seeds overnight, usually the bigger seeds. Okay. You don't need to soak the tiny radishes or alfalfa. And I stay away from chai as well. It's also a tiny seed, but the chai doesn't take well to sitting overnight in water. But it just enhances the sprouting, gets them sort of absorbed a little bit of water, and then you take them out anything overnight to 24 hours, and that it really does work pretty well. And you need to experiment. Again, your climate that's around you and in your house and so on are going to affect how quickly things sprout, how quickly they grow, and so forth. So you've got to experiment with yourself, and it's the best way, because you can get lots of advice all over the world about microgreens, but there's nothing like your own experience. Okay. So yeah, by all means, buy a kit online and follow their instructions as your first one if you so desire. Okay. Otherwise, be brave and just go a route like I'm going to show you now. Okay. So you have a container. As I've said to you, any type of container. In step one, you put organic seed soil. Seed soil is just organic soil that's been sieved and made very fine, so the seeds don't have a problem with getting up through the soil and putting roots down into the soil. Okay, you're just helping them on the way by not having big lumps of organic pieces of wood or something in them. Okay, so then you fill up your container to about 1 inch, a little bit more if you want to, and then you pat it down quite hard. I tend to, do what you see in the picture. I use my hand and I pat it down all the way around. And I don't wear gloves on purpose, okay? Because again, you've got a microbiome, all parts of your body and so on, and it's busy picking up, absolutely minor, small, very healthy things if you're playing around with organic soil. Okay, now you wash your hands afterwards, but I use my hand. I like the feel of soil. So you pat them down hard, and then you take your seed and you sprinkle them all over the top, and you can sprinkle them as densely as you want to, or not particularly dense. Dense will just give you a bigger crop, but don't put them on top of each other. So that's why you pat down very firmly, so that there aren't any valleys and mountains in your little tray, that it's all flat. So you can now sprinkle them, and then you now have two options. You can do what I do. You can now cover those seeds with soil, because remember I said they need darkness. So there are different ways of doing darkness. You can put soil all over them, just enough soil in order to hide all the seeds. And then you take a spray can of water and you spray the top surface so that the seeds under the soil and the soil above the seeds are damp. Okay, but you don't want to water so that the bottom of your soil is getting damp. Okay. So that's what you do if you want to hide the seeds with soil. Otherwise, it's quite all right to leave the seeds on the top of the soil and just cover them with a plank or another seed tray that's solid, that will create absolute darkness underneath. So you could just put a piece of wood on, and then they'll sprout on top of the soil, or they'll start sending through sprouts from under the soil. So I put soil on top, and then I just put, if I've got some spare trays, I just put it on top, and then I wait for them to sprout. So, and they could sprout anything from 3 to 5 days, depending on the seed, and possibly even sooner, depending on your climate in your home. And so I was going through, so I forgot to click here. So you cover your container. And so when most seeds are sprouted, place the container in a well-ventilated and partly sun area. Let them get to a few leaves, and then they're welcome to have some sun. Okay, you can put them in there once they've got some leaves, or got their first couple of leaves. You can put them in the sun for an hour or three, and it'll only enhance everything, the strength of the plant and the leaves and the nutrients and everything, because now the sun is now adding to the chemicals in the leaves as well. So, but you don't have to, because the light also does the purpose. If you've got a bright light, and if you've got a grow light, okay, there's a certain ray that's in the glow light that helps those leaves also mature to a better situation. Okay, so you water now, they've sprouted, and you water them whenever you put your finger on the soil and it's dry. Okay, so depending on your climate in your house and outside, summer, winter, and the humidity of the air itself, you would water at least once a day, but you might 3 times a day. Okay, but just keep the top of the soil ever so slightly damp, and generally once a day is fine. Okay, and as I say, you will know if it needs to be twice a day by just feeling the soil. And then I've showed you, it will again get to a point where you now harvest them well above the soil. And I say again, you do not eat the seed of a microgreen. Okay, so now you can see here, just take some time to look at the images there, and you will see that they're cutting them above the ground soil. And if you look closely, you'll see some of them are cutting them just above the leaves at the bottom. Okay, and so you would harvest them correctly if you want. If you don't want another thing, maybe you don't like the taste, you don't want another one of those, okay, you still harvest them above the soil. Okay, and then you can put the soil into a compost bin or just into another bin, because you can reuse the soil and you can enrich the soil again, because a lot of the nutrients have been taken out, but you can certainly use it again and without adding nutrients. But if they're going to be in a bin somewhere, I break them all up, because the roots are holding the soil together now. So I break up the whole things and I let the roots die in the drum, and then I add some more organic nutrients to it, and when I'm ready to use it, I just take it out of that drum, and I find those particularly. I just reuse and reuse and reuse. Okay, as long as you remember from time to time, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, to add some additional organic nutrients that can start working again within that soil. And it's almost like you need a little starter, and then the rest of your soil will be nutritious. So now I said I'd come back to storing your microgreens. First of all, I rather than store microgreens, I would just let them grow a bit taller, and cut them when you need them, as opposed to, this is the height I like to cut them at. Let them grow a bit taller. They're not going to become anything less in that time. Okay, so it's a good way to store them is leave them on their stems, on their roots, in order to grow. But if you have to, and don't harvest them in order to store them. Okay, that's what I'm really saying. You might be given some, you might buy some, and you want to know how to store it. Okay, so you store them between 2 damp pieces of paper, and then with the microgreens between those 2 pieces of damp paper, you put that into a Ziploc and seal the, and then you put it in the fridge, and they will be as fresh as a daisy in 7 days' time, Storm. Okay, but if you put them just into a Ziploc, they're going to look a bit miserable after 7 days. Okay, and a bit sort of dehydrated. And also another hint is, only rinse your microgreens, and you must rinse them, okay, because they're grown in organic soil and so on. So there might be some particles in there, but only rinse them before you're about to eat them, perhaps the morning before your lunch, but don't rinse them before you store them, okay? Rather store them as are and then rinse them after they come out of storage and they're going to be eaten. That's the time to. So the key is to keep your microgreens moist in order to maintain the fresh and the. Okay, so before I show you some ideas on how to eat them, are there any questions about growing your microgreens? Okay. So let's have a look at some ideas about how to eat microgreens. Now, I think it was it Maida that suggested that you, the smoothie, okay, might have been Maida or Diana. It's a lovely way to have your microgreens, okay? You can blend them into smoothies. And one of the best combinations that are used across the world is wheatgrass and broccoli, okay? And when I know here in Australia, when you go into a health, let's call it a health coffee shop, I don't know what you would call it in America, cafe perhaps, and they would do it in front of you, okay? They'd actually have the wheatgrass growing there, and so that's how fresh it can be, and you can make it for yourself. But you can add anything to it, and you can add it to salads, as you know, and you see on the image here, there's a pizza, and if that pizza was made of, let's say, cauliflower rather than wheat, you'd have a lovely cauliflower base with whatever cheese you put in or whatever you add, and then lots of a variety of nutrients. So you're getting a specific taste based on the microgreens, okay, but also you're getting amazing nutrients by eating a pizza, okay. So amazing. I mean, you can put it on burgers as well. You can garnish any dish, quite honestly. And so here we've got a different setup, okay. On the left here, we have a pea shoot savory pancake, okay. And so there's virtually nothing you can't. I mean, this the microgreens, as the name implies, are pea microgreens, and that they have a slight sweet taste, okay. So on a savory, let's say with salmon and a pancake and so on, it just like is amazing, okay. It really makes a big difference. And on the right of here, you've got your roasted acorn squash microgreen quinoa salad. So you've got now a whole different taste, a whole different way of eating your microgreens. And you can even have them on a dessert, okay? And say you've got a strawberry chocolate tart here with pea microgreens again, sweet, and you're getting the nutrients in those microgreens, okay? And certainly there's some nutrients in the strawberries as well. So spring salad on your right, there's a spring salad. I think we're all familiar, anything goes into a spring salad. And then as we're getting towards the end of the class, I mean, just look at that colorful salad. All right, it's not all microgreens, but the microgreens are playing their part in this. And it needs to be called a rainbow salad, I'm sure, for that very reason, okay? So, you know, you can impress your guests with color of microgreens. And if you move across to the right here we've got a roasted broccoli microgreen soup. Okay, And I just love any type of soup, actually. My wife and I have lots of different soups, and we get, we make vegetable soup and then put the microgreens in the vegetable soup. And below here, you get a typically, I would have called it, I don't know what you do in America, but yeah, you've got like a typical British tea sandwich, okay, a roast beef tea sandwich, and the microgreens again adding that difference. And then, of course, on the extreme left, you can see all the reds in that, okay, and a lot of unconventional ingredients in that. It's a sort of one-of-a-kind dish, and so, they are, and I'm sure even as you sit here and think, there are all different types of options. I mean, if you look at, there's a wild rice microgreen salad. And so, yeah, that's brings us to the end of the class. And I've just put some tips on the screen there, and I will send you an attachment that will help you go through the process. If you want it, if you do want it, please just say yes now, put up a thumbs up or something. Otherwise, not to worry. Okay. Okay, fine. Karen and Maida would like it. Okay. That means, Donna, you're going to get it anyway. Diana. Okay. But so here's some tips that I've landed up with on the screen, but you'll get those as well on the attachment that I will send you. And please keep in touch as the months come and go. Let me know through this class, perhaps, or find me somewhere on the internet, and tell me how it's going. I'm really interested to see your experiences, and also to share your experiences in future classes. Because I think people who attend classes like to hear from people who are actually doing it, have gone through. That's why I enjoy the class. I'm doing it, but I'd like you to share future experiences. So thank you very, very much for being part of the class. I appreciate it. And I'll be sending.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Let me ask you, what seed do you suggest if I'm just going to start with one seed?
Okay. I think start with radishes.
Okay.
And they're quick and easy, very nutritious, and they've got a taste, okay, a definite taste. So that's a good one to start with. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other last minute questions?
No, I just wanted to suggest one seed for, I think they'd work for microgreens, nasturtiums.
Yeah. Nasturtiums, I've always grown nasturtiums, and I'm growing them right now, but I've grown them to the plant, okay? I haven't grown them as microgreens, okay? The nasturtium leaf and so on is so delicate, and so I haven't grown nasturtium microgreens, but certainly nasturtiums are there in the salad. Okay. What dog have you got? Show me your dog.
The same one, the pesty one.
Okay. Yeah. So Diana, thank you for your comment on the chat, and I'm glad to see you're going to get started. Okay. She's ordered a starter kit, organic online. Fantastic. Okay, it's a good way to start, rather than buy everything separately and then put it together. Buy a kit to start with. Okay, but please come back and share. Bye for now.